राम हरे राम राम।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyareshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 14, Pregnancy of Diti in the Evening. So, we have seen till now that how Kaśyapa Muni has fallen prey to the demand of the Diti, and now we come to text 33. Ditistu vridita tena karmavadyena bharata upasangamya viprarshim adhomukhya abhyabhashata. Translation.
O son of the Bharata family, Diti after this went nearer to her husband. Her face lowered because of her faulty action. She spoke as follows. Purport: when one is ashamed of an abominable action, one naturally becomes downfaced. Diti came to her senses after the abominable sexual intercourse with her husband. Such sexual intercourse is condemned as prostitution. In other words, sex life with one's wife is equal to prostitution if the regulations are not properly followed. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So, this is a very heavy section of Bhagavatam. So, the regular Bhagavatam is one thing, and there are certain sections which are like no bars, direct exposure of the material world, and this comes one of this. And especially, you will see that when there is a discussion between two very renounced personalities, here we see Maitreya Muni and Vidura. So, this is not something which is like very palatable or which is very. Bhagavatam will give the description as it is. And Srila Prabhupada also, he was very famous for giving description as it is. Prabhupada said, my Guru Maharaj followed the hammer technique, and I am also following the hammer technique. In fact, sometimes they ask Srila Prabhupada to be a little mild on his preaching style, and why you are exposing slightly, the lower the restrictions, rules and regulations. But Prabhupada said, no, sadhu means to cut, and I'm here to give you the complete exposition of spiritual life. So sometimes, the sections in Bhagavatam may become very heavy, and this is surely one of the heavy sections. Now, Diti, she went nearer to husband, feeling very low and shy. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, because of her abominable action, Diti, now she was, very morose and guilt-ridden, and she began to speak. Text 34. Diti ruvacha name garbham imam brahman bhutanam rishabho vadit rudrapatirhi bhutanam yasyakaram amhasam. Translation.
Translation. The beautiful Diti said, my dear Brahmana, kindly see that my embryo is not killed by Lord Shiva, the Lord of all living entities, because of the great offense I have committed against him. Purport. Diti was conscious of her offense and was anxious to be excused by Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva has two popular names, Rudra and Ashutosha. He is very prone to anger as well as quickly pacified. Diti knew that because of his being quickly angered, he might spoil the pregnancy she had so unlawfully achieved. But because he was also Ashutosha, she implored her Brahmana husband to help her in pacifying Lord Shiva, for her husband was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. In other words, Lord Shiva might have been angry with Diti because she obliged her husband to transgress the law, but he would not refuse her husband's prayer. Therefore, the application for excuse was submitted through her husband. She prayed to Lord Shiva as follows. Hare Krishna.
The beautiful Diti said, now Diti approached Kaśyapa Muni and said, please see to this, that the embryo is not killed by Lord Shiva. He is not given the punishment in the form of miscarriage or untimely death. Lord Shiva is the Bhutanath, Lord of all living entities, and therefore I have committed a great offense against him, and let that punishment not come to my children. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that Lord Shiva, Diti was conscious of her offense, and Diti was also conscious the two natures of Lord Shiva. He is Rudra and he is Ashutosha. He becomes angry very easily, and as well as he is very quickly pacified. Now here Diti approached Kaśyapa Muni and she said that I am conscious of the offense I committed at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva, but please, I am offering prayers to Lord Shiva through you. And now she is began to pray to Lord Shiva. Text 35. Namo Rudraya Mahate Devayograya Midhushe Shivaya Nastadandaya Dhritatandaya Manyave. Translation.
Let me offer my obeisances unto the angry Lord Shiva, who is simultaneously the very ferocious great demigod and the fulfiller of all material desires. He is all auspicious and forgiving, but his anger can immediately move him to chastise. Purport. Diti prayed for the mercy of Lord Shiva very cleverly. She prayed, the Lord can cause me to cry, but if he likes, he can also stop me crying, because he is Ashutosh. He is so great that if he likes, he can immediately destroy my pregnancy. But by his mercy, he can also fulfill my desire that my pregnancy not be spoiled. Because he is all auspicious, it is not difficult for him to excuse me from being punished, although he is now ready to punish me because I have moved his great anger. He appears like a man, but he is the Lord of all men.
Diti now began to pray. Namo Rudraya Mahate. I pray unto very angry Lord Shiva, Devayograya Midhushi, who is the great Devata and very ferocious when he is in anger. And also at the same time, he is fulfiller of all material desires also. He is all auspicious and forgiving, and but his anger can immediately move him to chastise. In the Purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, Diti prayed for the mercy of Lord Shiva very cleverly. It is just like, mother is angry and the child goes, oh, all auspicious mother, who, is always taking care of welfare of the child. Then you understand that, in what mood the child. Very cleverly, here Diti began to pray. And she began to pray, although Lord Shiva can cause me to cry immediately, but he's also Bhutanath. Although he's very angry, but he's very auspicious. Therefore, now I pray to him that let Lord Shiva punish me, but not the pregnancy. And this is how she began to pray to Lord Shiva through her husband Kaśyapa Muni. Text 36. Sana prasiditam bhamo Bhagavanur anugraha vyadasya anukampiyanam strinam deva satipatihi. Translation.
Let him be pleased with us, since he is my brother-in-law, the husband of my sister Sati. He is also the worshipable Lord of all women. He is the personality of all opulences and can show mercy towards women who are excused even by these uncivilized hunters. Purport: Lord Shiva is the husband of Sati, one of the sisters of Diti. Diti invoked the pleasure of her sister Sati so that Sati would request her husband to excuse her. Besides that, Lord Shiva is the worshipable Lord of all women. He is naturally very kind towards women, on whom even the uncivilized hunters also show their mercy. Since Lord Shiva is himself associated with women, he knows very well their defective nature and he might not take very seriously Diti's unavoidable offense, which occurred due to her faulty nature. Even virgin girl is supposed to be a devotee of Lord Shiva. Diti remembered her childhood worship of Lord Shiva and begged his mercy. Hare Krishna.
So now Diti, she invoked the presence of her sister Sati. She began to pray, Sana prasiditam bhamu. Let that Lord Shiva be pleased with me, who is Satipati, who is the husband of my sister Sati. By nature, he is very naturally kind to the woman as a class, and who are excused even by the uncivilized hunter, what to speak of a Bhutanath, a great personality like Lord Shiva. So, as Srila Prabhupada mentions here, that Sati began to pray very cleverly to Lord Shiva, right? And look at this, what an intelligent prayer she is praying. She is saying that, oh Lord Shiva, you are already so closely related to me. You are husband of my sister Sati, and woman like me will be pardoned even by uncivilized hunter. What to speak of you in that case? So don't go to that position by punishing me. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that by invoking the pleasure of her sister Sati, so that Sati would also request on behalf of Diti to forgive Diti. Srila Prabhupada further says, Lord Shiva is associated with women as a class, and every virgin girl is supposed to be devotee of Lord Shiva. Okay, so this is Uma Parvati. So they naturally worship Lord Shiva. There are so many festivals where the girls will be worshipping Lord Shiva to get a good husband. And Diti, since the childhood, she had worshipped Lord Shiva in that way. And now she remembered that worship of Lord Shiva and begged for his mercy. Text 37. Maitreya uvacha swasarga swasargashyasisham lokam आशासानं प्रवेपतिं निवृत्त संध्यनियमो भार्यामाह प्रजापतिः. Translation.
Maitreya said, the great sage Kaśyapa thus addressed his wife, who was trembling because of fear that her husband was offended. She understood that he had been dissuaded from his daily duties of offering evening prayers, but she desired the welfare of her children in the world.
So now Diti, she was in a position where she understood that she had committed a mistake, a grave blunder, in spite of warning, and at the same time, she wanted the welfare of the children also, and therefore Diti now began to approach Kaśyapa, and here Kaśyapa began to speak to Diti. Text 37. Kaśyapa uvacha aprayat अप्रायत्याद्यात्मनस्तस्ते दोषान् मौहुर् टिकादुत अन्निकादेशातिचारेण देवानां च अतिहेलनात्. Translation.
The learned Kaśyapa said, because of your minds being polluted, because of defilement of the particular time, because of your negligence of my directions, and because of your being apathetic to the demigods, everything was inauspicious. Purport. The conditions for having good progeny in society are that the husband should be disciplined in religious and regulatory principles, and the wife should be faithful to the husband. In Bhagavad Gita 7.11, it is said that sexual intercourse according to religious principles is a representation
What we
of
can read now, Prabhuji, we can just say sensual. Okay, so that is not such a grave word.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, please continue.
Yeah, before engaging in sensual intercourse, both the husband and the wife must consider their mental condition, the particular time, the husband's direction, and obedience to the demigods. According to Vedic society, there is a suitable, auspicious time for sensual gratification life, which is called the time for Garbhadan. Diti neglected all the principles of scriptural injunctions, and therefore, although she was very anxious for auspicious children, she was informed that her children would not be worthy to be the sons of a Brahmana. There is a clear indication herein that a Brahmana's son is not always a Brahmana. Personalities like Ravana and Hiraṇyakaśipu were actually born of Brahmanas, but they were not accepted as Brahmanas because their fathers did not follow the regulatory principles for their birth. Such children are called demons or Rakshasas. There were only one or two Rakshasas in the previous ages due to negligence of the disciplinary methods. But during the age of Kali, there is no discipline in sensual life. Now, how then can one expect good children? Certainly, unwanted children cannot be a source of happiness in society, but through the Krishna consciousness movement, they can be raised to the human standard by chanting the holy name of God. That is the unique contribution of Lord Chaitanya to human society.
Kaśyapa, learned Kaśyapa said. Now look at the adjectives: beautiful Diti and learned Kaśyapa. Okay, learned Kaśyapa said, "You have committed four mistakes because of your minds being polluted, because of the polluted mind, because of the defiling of the particular time, because of the negligence of my directions, and because Devanam cha ati helanat, because you were too neglectful. Helanam means being neglectful towards the demigods. Everything was inauspicious." So Diti was asking, so how was it? And Kashyapa said, everything was inauspicious. Your mind, time, directions, and demigods. Everything was inauspicious. And the result naturally is going to be very, very inauspicious. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, there are conditions for a good progeny in the society. And that particular system of progeny is system of getting a good progeny is called as Garbhodhan Sanskar. So there are certain rules and regulations for bringing out uh, a, a good progeny, and it's a great science. In some of the previous classes, we have discussed this, that there are many devotees who are working on this science of good progeny. One such very good family in Maharashtra is, we have this Devdhar family from Nashik. Sankirtan Das Prabhu and his good wife, both of them are very qualified doctor, and since years, almost like more than decade or so, they are working in this direction of Garbhodhan Sanskar. So Garbhodhan Sanskar is a great science in itself. And one will be really surprised that a lot of good characteristics, that is literally called as a embryo engineering. So that means, one can award good qualities to the child by following certain proper regulation, which is very much part of the Vedas. Veda means knowledge, and knowledge, Vedas give very descriptive knowledge about every aspect of one's life, including bringing about a good progeny. Right. So, but Diti, she neglected all the principles. And as Kaśyapa Muni points out here, majorly she had these four faults. And therefore, the sons which were going to come out were going to be extremely disastrous, Varna Sankara. And Prabhupada says here that previously there were one or two such odd cases, odd exceptions, like Ravana, Hiraṇyakaśipu. But in the current age, practically, on the Friday night, over the glass of a beer or something like that, if the samskar or the activity takes place, you can just imagine. Prabhupada says, what is the hope for the people in Kali Yuga? The only hope is Yagyai Sankirtana Praye Yajantihi Sumedasaha. The only hope is the Krishna consciousness movement, where people can be trained to be raised to the human standard by chanting the holy names of God. And therefore, this is called as Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. And that is the only hope. And Srila Prabhupada proved this, that although one may come from any background, but one can be raised in one standard if one applies oneself in devotional service. So, and this is, Prabhupada says, this is the unique contribution of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Text 39. Bhavishastas tava bhadra abhadre jatharadhamam lokan sapalanam stritschandi muhur akrandishyati. Translation.
O haughty one, you will have two contemptuous sons born of your condemned womb. Unlucky women, they will cause constant lamentation to all the three worlds. Purport. Contemptuous sons are born of the condemned womb of their mother. In Bhagavad Gita 1.40, it is said, when there is deliberate negligence of the regulative principles of religious life, the women as a class become polluted, and as a result, there are unwanted children. This is especially true for boys. If the mother is not good, there cannot be good sons. The learned Kaśyapa could foresee the character of the sons who would be born of the condemned womb of Diti. The womb was condemned because of the mother's being too sensually inclined and thus transgressing all the laws and injunctions of the scriptures. In a society where such women are predominant, one should not expect good children.
So now here, Kaśyapa began to very heavily speak. Bhavishyati, in the future, two contemptuous sons will be born of your condemned womb, Jathara Adhamo. O unlucky woman, Abhadre, they will cause the constant lamentation to all the three worlds. So here is the description of who is going to take birth from the womb of Diti. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, because of the gross negligence of the basic principles of the Vedic understanding, there was a deliberate negligence of the regulative principles of religious life. Diti was condemned, and the progeny also is going to be very condemned, which will cause great destruction. And this is Bhagavad Gita 1.40 describes about Varna Sankara. And this is exactly fear of Arjuna. And Lord Krishna tells him that this may be your fear, Arjuna, but by not fighting war, this fear will come true. Right. This is the beauty of Lord Krishna pointing in Bhagavad Gita. So Kaśyapa could see the character of the sons, and this Hiraṇyākṣa and Hiraṇyakaśipu, they were such deadly personalities who were going to appear, who are going to do ahita or lamentation to all the three worlds. Text 40. Praninam hanyamananam dinanam kritagasam strinam nigriyamananam kopiteshu mahatmasu. Translation.
They will kill poor, faultless living entities, torture women, and engage the and enrage the great souls. Purport. Demonic activities are predominant when innocent, faultless living entities are killed, women are tortured, and the great souls engaged in Krishna consciousness are enraged. In a demonic society, innocent animals are killed to satisfy the tongue. The women are tortured by unnecessary sensual indulgence. Where there are women and meat, there must be liquor and sensual indulgence. When these are prominent in society, by God's grace, one can expect a change in the social order by Lord himself or by his bona fide representative.
What will be the activities of these children? They are being mentioned here. They will kill poor, faultless living entity, praninam hanyamananam, torture woman, and enrage the great souls. So these are the activities. Who will be born is mentioned in the previous verse. Text 39, text 40 is what will be the activities of these condemned sons. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that the demoniac activities are giving trouble to innocent, faultless living entities, women as a class, and great personalities or Mahatmas who are engaged in God consciousness. And Prabhupada says here, when there is a rise in such activities, one can expect a change in social order by Lord himself or his bona fide representative. And the example here is Srila Prabhupada himself, who is approaching, is exactly these things were happening in America. When Srila Prabhupada, he was there at the 2nd Avenue, this Bowery, New York. And Srila Prabhupada says here that, there will be a rise by the God's grace, and one can expect a change in social order. Text 41. Tada Vishveshwara Kruddho Bhagavan Loka Bhavanah Hanishyati Yaryasau Yathadrin Shatapar Pruthak. Translation.
At that time, the Lord of the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the well-wisher of all living entities, will descend and kill them, just as Indra smashes the mountains with his thunderbolts. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 4.8, the Lord descends as an incarnation to deliver the devotees and kill the miscreants. The Lord of the universe and of everything would appear to kill the sons of Diti because of their offending the devotees of the Lord. There are many agents of the Lord, such as Indra, Chandra, Varuna, goddess Durga, and Kali, who can chastise any formidable the example of mountains being smashed by a the mountain is considered the most strongly built body within the universe, yet it can be easily smashed by the arrangement of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Personality of Godhead does not need to descend in order to kill any strongly built body. He comes down just for the sake of his devotees. Everyone is subject to the miseries offered by material nature. But because the activities of miscreants, such as killing innocent people and animals or torturing women, are harmful to everyone and are therefore a source of pain for the devotees, the Lord comes down. He descends only to give relief to his ardent devotees. Killing of the miscreant by the Lord is also the mercy of the Lord towards the miscreant, although apparently the Lord takes the side of the devotee. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no difference between his activities of killing the miscreants and favoring the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Now, what will happen is indicated by Kaśyapa Muni here. At that time, when the trouble and torture of these two personalities will go beyond all bounds, the Lord of the universe, the Supreme Personality, Bhagavan Lokabhavanaha, he will descend. And just as the Indra smashes the mountains with his thunderbolt, he will descend and destroy your two sons. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, this is the activity of the Lord. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chidushkrutam dharma samstharpanathaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Not only Lord's agents also, they are extremely powerful and formidable to punish the miscreants in this world. Agents such as Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Durga, Kali, they are very, very powerful. And here there is one example. Yathadrin, Yatha, just as Adrin means the mountain, Shataparvadruk, controller of the thunderbolt. Shataparvadruk is the one who operates the thunderbolt, that is Indra. Just like Indra is punishing the mighty mountains, similarly, the Lord will come. And Srila Prabhupada says here, the Lord descends just to save his devotees. Paritranaya sadhunam. But while doing paritranaya sadhunam, the troublemongers, vinashaya dushkrutam, he also destroys the dushkruta. But because the Lord is absolute, as it is good for sadhus to be paritranaya, to be delivered by the Lord, similarly, it is equally beneficial for the miscreants who are killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord is absolute. There is no difference in his activity of killing the miscreants or favoring the devotees. And this is what is going to happen. And hearing this, Diti became very excited. So we'll conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Thank you,
Prabhu.
Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Mukundanda Prabhu.
Hari Bol, Leela Suprabhu. I think Mukundu left the meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.